There are as many ways to be so good that it hurts as there are people on this planet. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I haven't been on here in a long time. I haven't created a video in a long time, so I'm really excited and I'm really glad to be back. Today we're going to be talking about really what I've been experiencing since the last time I made a video. And this is emotional triggers, being tested by the universe, rising out of patterns, breaking patterns and karmic loops. And really this whole sort of thing. And we're going to get into, you know, what this is like, what it feels like, how to do it, the cyclical process of it really, because it's not a linear process, and the result that comes from being in control of how you choose to respond and creating heart-brain coherence through it. So this is all wonderful stuff, and it excites me because, you know, happiness is having a problem to solve. So we become happy when we solve a problem. Now, when we're in the midst of a problem that we can't see a way out of, whoa, we all know what that feels like. That's absolute hell and darkness. You know, it's like you're floating nowhere. You know, you're not centered in your body. You know, you're not grounded in your root chakra. You don't have heart-brain coherence, and you're all over the place. That is an awful feeling. But if the next time you experience that, I want you to remember and remind yourself, if you don't already, that our greatest challenges are the pathways to the solution. That's the way this reality is designed, that our problems are actually the way to the solution. So even if you can't find it in the moment, you tell yourself that I'm going to find it, you know, or else I wouldn't be experiencing this right now. Whether you find it today, tomorrow, or 2 years from now. So, and that is the absolute beautiful thing. I remind myself of that all the time. It's, you know, you were made for this. You're going to make it. You're going to find your way. So, and that does help take a lot of that pressure off in the moment. And also you pair that with remembering that all of life is happening in divine timing exactly as it should. So even in the midst of the darkest, deepest, you know, bottomless pit type subconscious programs, even in the midst of those, that's the most important time to be reminding yourself of that and telling yourself that. It's very easy to be overtaken by that darkness during those times. And, you know, the way that the process works is we do need to be overtaken by that darkness in order to be able to say, okay, I make the choice now to remind myself of these things, become centered and aligned in my body, you know, continue to establish my heart-brain coherence by making that choice to remember that, and by choosing how I respond in those situations with love and to become my own rock. That is how we continue to shift out of that program and rise out of that program. So that every time it appears, every time it resurfaces, we see the doorway right out of it. And we can just step right on out of it. So, yes. Yes, what fun. You know, we know that during these times, we're healing the planet, okay? We're healing the heart and the body and the emotional bodies of the planet through one another, because we are Mother Earth. And we're all individual cells of that greater body of Mother Earth. And so what we go through, the Earth is experiencing as well, which is precisely why what you do matters. You know, what you do in every day matters for all of life. And we're going back, we're healing trauma and stories of the human experience from hundreds and thousands of years ago, and we're going into the deepest emotional pain known to man through this. So it's very difficult. It's very challenging, but this is the task at hand that we're faced with currently. And these are the tests that we're given. And so we're not only healing ourselves, we're healing Earth, and we're healing our bloodlines, our ancestral lineage. And it can be very hard to remember that, we're doing all that in the moment because of how it can overtake us. But nonetheless, we have to remember that we're in this together. And that when we prioritize our soul's mission and our healing, our mission and that process of healing is our child. It's our creation. It's our birthing process. So when we prioritize that and we make the appropriate sacrifices that are detrimental to that evolution and progression, the things that hold us back from continuing to expand spiritually, when we eliminate those habits and those patterns from our lives, we experience quantum leaps. And when we change our thought process to prioritize our healing in integrity and with dignity, to be the best that we can be and make the best choices and, remain humble and look out for the greater good of all. When we do that for ourselves, that is when all this support comes flooding in to support that healing. We heal a lot of our trauma and a lot of these subconscious programs and patterns. We all know they feel impossible. They can feel absolutely impossible to heal, like there's no way out. But perhaps we're not actually meant to reconfigure that particular program, but rather we're meant to see that program and say, oh, that's directing me over to here where it's lighter and brighter and there's unity and peace and wholeness and prosperity and co-creation and collaboration and new life and growth. That's the direction that we want to be heading within ourselves together, and that's precisely why in these dynamics, that we're healing through, there's competition and there's envy and jealousy and hatred, and all that sort of thing. It's not about, if you want to win, if you're trying to figure out how you can win above everyone else, you're still trying to reconfigure that darkness. The paradigm that we're shifting out of is that unhealthy competition. I have a quote. I don't know if I can remember it right now, but it pretty much goes, healthy competition is exciting and is also necessary for growth and development. However, co-creation, collaboration, and connection is far more rewarding, truly. And we're one. We have to remember, we're the one. We are the one. So we're heading in the direction of unity and being able to reclaim our empowerment and our confidence through the reflection of the lower subconscious paradigm, or the lower paradigm, of I guess you could call it subconscious archetypes, maybe. But the illusions of the third dimension, let's just call it that. Not to write off the components of the third dimension, but to remember at the end of the day, when we're leaving this planet, Is our mission, do we feel fulfilled and complete in our mission? Or are we still operating off of the lower paradigm? So when we're in these situations where we're feeling triggered and we're feeling like a piece of shit in comparison to another person, your superpower is that you are you. It's not only, you know, the way that you make people laugh and the way that you carry yourself and all the wonderful qualities about who you are as a person, but it's also everything you've ever been through. It's your failures and your shortcomings and your insecurities. It's all of who you are. When you embrace all of who you are, that is your superpower. That's your confidence in being who you are. And let me tell you something. Part of that confidence is knowing that there's always going to be somebody else who's better, who is better looking, who has more accomplishment, who's more talented, so on and so forth. So when you know that and you're like, I love who I am, I'm good enough in who I am, I'm confident in who I am, I know what I bring to the table, you know, and you accept and embrace your shadows as well. That's truly your superpower. That's how you shine bright, because you're not in competition with anyone any longer, you see? And you're supporting them. You're supporting all of life. You're a magnet. So that, you know, let me tell you something. There are as many ways to be so good that it hurts as there are people on this planet. You know, let that sink in. There are as many ways to be so good that it hurts as there are people on this planet. Who you are, everything you've been through, is all that you ever need. You know? And that's more so in terms of the third dimension illusion of ego, of creative energy. You know? I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you currently believe about yourself. Every single person is a match for their body. How beautiful is that? And every single person has within them the eternal light of all of creation, designed for them to succeed at being who they are, at making their impact, making the difference they came to make. So each and every person, don't ever believe that there's a person out there or yourself that doesn't have what it takes to make the impact they came to this planet to make. Because they have what it takes and you have what it takes. And that's a very beautiful thing. That's a very beautiful thing to remember in the midst of these challenges and tests. You know, because in contrast to in that knowing that you are God and that you have everything you ever need built in with you. You know, you're the whole package deal for who you are. You are the whole package deal. Remember that. So in contrast to that, we have to feel like a piece of shit to remember that. Let me see. So yeah, you know, and another thing to remember is that, you know, a lot of these programs we were kind of born into because we're carrying these programs and this trauma over from past lives, and they're just, you know, they're being carried over a lot of times with the same people from lives thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so we have to realize now that the difference in this lifetime and at this time now is that we are awakening to what is happening and we're understanding it logically. Consciously, we're understanding it. So we have the upper hand in how we choose to respond to them. You know, even when it's like, it's not fair, because we're dealing with higher self counterparts and twin flames and, eternal love. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, you know, the pain, the emotional pain, that's the deepest, darkest pain that, you know, is known to mankind, and that transcends time and space. But even yet, it is you that you're really seeking. It is your fulfillment. It's your giving, your frequency. Your frequency is the basis of your contribution to life on earth. So, like I said, your frequency is also your baby. It's your child. That's the most important thing to you. So even when we're talking, we're in the core, in the midst of all these stories of the human experience, mythologies, movies, and music that display and animate these patterns within us. It's in the midst of them that you make the choice to choose self-love and to care for yourself, and focus on unity. That is what's going to make all the difference in the world. That's what's making the change. It's in the hardest moments, making the hardest choices, that is making the change for the whole planet. Sometimes it's hard to see beyond your own nose because it's on a personal level. And there was something I was just thinking that I wanted to say regarding twin flames. Oh, yes. I am very glad that I remembered that. I'm a twin flame. So when I experienced twin flame separation, and we all know that the twin flames have these subconscious patterns where they have insecurities, they have anxiety, depression, they feel like they don't fit in, they feel like they're fundamentally flawed, they have a lot of these doom and bottomless pit type patterns happening in their life. And so when we go into separation, the separation is the hero's journey, and that's when we really begin to learn all these lessons that I've been talking about in this video, and how to be there for ourselves, how to connect with ourselves, how to become our own rock, how to be able to trust ourselves, begin to really give ourselves self-love, and prioritize our mission and why we're here. And that's not easy, you know, because self-love isn't just taking care of your body, you know, and these other things. Self-love is really being able to surrender, you know, and be humble. And that's a very challenging thing. So, and we're doing all these things, and while we're learning how to be there for ourselves, and then, you know, there's the twin flame, and we're dancing between wanting to be in this connection, and, you know, and that keeps bumping us back to that sort of self-love, wholeness, and learning how to connect with the heart of creation in that period of separation. Where I'm getting at is, during this period of separation and being with the twin flame, there's this subconscious belief that the twin flame is bad, or that, you know, wanting to be with them is bad, because you should be wanting to be with yourself, and you should be independent, and you should be in control of your own emotions and not emotionally dependent, and all this thing. So while there's a needed, this is a needed time for your development, and it's necessary, and it's healthy, there's also an unhealthy belief system that is carried over with that. Then you have to shed that skin of that toxic independence, where you feel that, you know, connection with another person is fundamentally bad. Okay, this is what the twin flames experience, because the twin flames are so emotionally dependent that when they learn how to become emotionally independent, they adopt this belief that interdependency is bad. And I'm going to give you an example. Let me grab my water. I was watching one of Aubrey Marcus's videos a while ago. Oh God, I don't know. It might have even been a couple of years ago. And he was talking about an ayahuasca retreat that he did. And he mentioned 2 different occasions how he was really going through it. You know, he was in the midst of this like really dark subconscious programming, and it was, terrible. And he reached out and held his brother's hand. And when he held his brother's hand, he knew that, it was going to be okay. He was going to be fine. And and then he mentioned a similar time with his wife. And I remember that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because here I was in this separation from my twin flame during the hero's journey and learning how to like be independent and be able to count on myself and trust myself. And I heard that and I was like, wow. So we can be dependent, on other people. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the paradigm, and it's a process. So we go from very toxic emotional dependency to learning over the course of depending on the trauma, it could be a couple of months to several years of how to be there for ourselves and how to be emotionally independent. And to reclaim our ground, our center, and our confidence on our own through, trials and tribulations that life is throwing at us. Because you don't go into a padded room or, a hole in the ground during that period. You actually have to be faced with all these adversaries and trials and tribulations. However, but you get support as well during that time. You can't do it without both. So then we go into that, and there comes this thing where we're in isolation and we're alone, where we believe that, can't be dependent on somebody. We can't be interdependent because that's what we just spent all this time and effort and energy coming out of. But then the next stage of that process really, and what it is the enlightenment process and the awakening process, is realizing and remembering that all of life is interdependent and that we heal together. And the only way that we can heal our nervous system, our subconscious patterns, is through connection with other people and support. With the right support, we heal. And that is, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That is... And a lot of times for twin flames, and maybe not all twin flames, but a lot of times for a lot of people who go into this sort of isolation phase and learning how to do all that, and then we come back in a connection with other people, and we start finding our tribe. That is when the real healing begins, because we were isolated here, but if we ever wanted to rise out of those codependent patterns that we shifted from over to there, then we got to go back with people who we experienced those same dynamics with and the same stories with to experience that. So now that we can reclaim our confidence, choose how we respond to that situation, not running back into isolation, reclaiming your confidence. All the things that I've been talking about in this video, we learn how to heal into as one together. And it's a process, and it's a cyclical process. And one of the most important things to remember is that, all of life is happening in divine timing. You cannot get it wrong. To let go of shame, because shame runs so deeply in our subconscious mind. Shame in who we are fundamentally, shame in how we identify, shame around how we perform in our creations, and just absolutely everything. And that's what we're healing. you know, and as we heal that individually and together, the planet continues to heal. So that's the task at hand, you know, and I just wanted to talk about how challenging this is and how important it is to prioritize what you choose to do, because what you choose to do matters. And to remember that we're in this together and that the goal is unity. There's nothing that brings my soul more joy than unity. And of course, like everyone, I get thrown, I swing back and forth. I experience a lot of darkness. I have no expectation as to when I will rise out of my patterns for good, you know, or even to be able to have that unwavering control over how I choose to respond. As far as I know, it could carry on to some degree anyway for the rest of my life. I don't know, because it runs so very deep. That's not important. The only important thing is how we are relating to ourselves in the moment, how we're experiencing ourselves in life, our frequency, which is the basis of our contribution to all life, as I mentioned, and how we just continue to live our lives and make the best choices for all of life in each moment when we're given these tests and these tasks. All right, that's all for today. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a long time, but it feels really good to be back. And if this video resonated with you or if it helped you, go ahead and drop a like. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm Val Mason. Thank you.